Good morning, guys. Can you hear me well? If you look at the post for the assignment today, if you read the description, the instructions will tell you what we're going to do and also what you'll need to do when it comes to creating your Word file. So for today and the rest of the videos going forward, you can watch the video, get the information you need, and you can also work on the assignment at the same time. If you can't do that, then watch the video, pause it in the areas that you need to type, and write out the code when you pause the video. I'm not sure how many of you are working off tablets or cell phones, but I'm not sure how the experience would be. I would imagine it's a little bit more difficult to be watching a video and working at the same time. So for you guys, just be a little patient and just get the work done when you can, okay? As for the chat, okay, I'm not sure. I didn't know that you can access the chat again and see all the comments, but it's still easier to just use the class videos post to check attendance, because if you look at the chat, it's already filled with conversation. So for all purposes going forward, we'll be using the comment section in the class post for the video to take attendance. And the good thing with this is there is a timestamp, so I can see when you type that you're present. So if you type that you're present after the video has streamed or after hours that we're not in contact, then I know that you weren't here for the video. So we're streaming for 7 minutes now, so let's just get to it. If you notice, the health of the video so far is kind of low, so if your video pauses or buffers, just be patient. Alright. So we go straight into Replit. As usual, go to Replit/languages/QBasic, and the assignment for today is to do a program that calculates the area of a circle. That's not anything new, and again, the point of revision is so that you could learn this platform going forward doing something that's familiar. So as usual, we begin our program typing in the prompt for the user that lets them know what this program does. We tell the user that this program calculates the area of a circle, and then we prompt them to enter the value for the radius. As a programmer, it's up to you to decide how you want to write your prompts, how you want to label the prompts. Everything that comes after the print command that you see in double quotes is going to display on the screen exactly as you typed it. So as a programmer, you have to consider your audience, consider how easy it is to read something, and also how easy it is to understand what it is you're asking for. So in this case, I'm asking for the value for radius. I'm asking the user to enter the value for the radius. In line 2, I'm telling the user that the program requires a radius, meaning that it needs it. It can't run without it. So if I just run this, it should simply print these 3 lines exactly as they were written. And as you see, the commands are not printed because they're not in the double quotes, and the command print is simply telling the program to output or to display the message found in the double quotes. The input command allows us to create a variable. And we've talked about variables being, think about it as virtual containers. They take up memory on a computer because it has to store whatever value somewhere in the memory of the computer you're using. Therefore, when you create a variable, it's so that it will contain some type of information that you will use later on. It can be a number, it can be textual, or it can be a Boolean, which are the three data types that we covered recently. Boolean is a data type that covers true or false, on or off. It's binary, basically 1 or 0. Textual can cover a single letter, which is a character, or it can cover a sentence, which is known as a string. And then finally, numbers. It can cover decimals, integers, pretty much any real number. When it comes to numbers that we understand to be infinite, such as the value of pi, due to the memory limitations of any computer, it will always stop somewhere if you're trying to calculate the value of pi. So if you actually go to a computer and divide 22 by 7, it will stop somewhere after a set amount of decimal places because the computer's memory is limited and it knows that it cannot exceed a certain amount of memory usage. Therefore, if it's, for example, 8 decimal places, you notice the value shows it's 8 decimal places that can be stored in memory based on what is available to the computer. And that is why we have data types such as floats, integers, and so forth. Floats have a set memory amount that can store a certain amount of decimals, so it stops at a specific number of decimal places, whereas integers don't even have decimal places. So you could imagine it being the size of the container when you have an integer which can only store one number with no decimals, or when you move on to a larger memory capacity data type, float, which can store numbers that all integers can hold, but then also with the added memory capacity of storing decimals to a set number of spaces after the decimal point. So there's a brief explanation into data types once again. So when it comes to variables, any name, not pi, we want to try and name the container relevant to what program or what type of calculations we're doing. The naming again is completely up to the programmer. It's your discretion to decide, alright, if you want to name the input or the variable, in this case radius, it is because it's in relation to what value we're asking from the user. Radius is not a keyword or a command used in programs, in most programs anyways. Therefore, the word radius is acceptable. We wouldn't want to name a variable input because the word input in all caps is a reserved word and a command used in QBasic. Therefore, it won't make sense and it will confuse the computer program and will probably produce an error. But the word radius is perfectly fine, and so we'll use the word radius as our variable, and when the input command is found before a variable, the program will stop and pause and wait for the user to enter some value, and when that value is entered, then the word radius or the variable radius will contain that value for as long as we do not reset that value to something else. Once you set a variable like this, you can always assign it to some value yourself. For example, we need another variable. If you look at the assignment, it says to create a variable to hold the value of pi, and let's make it equal to 3.14. In this case, it's not a input that we're looking for anymore. An input is reserved for the user to enter information, and it pauses for the user to enter information. But in this case, we know that the value of pi will be 3.14, and it's never going to change for our program. And it's because of that we're going to assign the variable in line 5. We're going to call it pi because, again, it's relative to what we're doing. I could have called it pies, like the food pies. I could have called it pi, like the food pie. And again, it's not wrong as long as you keep referring to the variable by the name PIE. And we can set the value to 3.14, just like that. We don't need to ask for the user to enter pi because we know the value is 3.14. And then when we move forward, we can simply call upon the word pi and the value will be used. So the last thing that remains is to calculate our area of the circle. The formula for area is pi r squared. If you expand that formula, you could call it pi times radius once again. You can use variables more than once. As long as you call upon the variable, the value will be produced and it will be used. So what I will do here is simply combine the print that you've been seeing so far. And I'll be performing calculations in the same line as the print. To make sure we separate text to be printed or displayed on the screen over here, we add the semicolon to make sure that we're separating those from calculations. So on the right side of the semicolon, we input our formula and we'll do pi r squared, so we reference pi, the asterisk, which is the sign for multiplication, radius times radius. And what the right hand side of the semicolon does is take the value of pi, not the word pi, but the value. And the reason why is it's not in these double quotes, so it's not going to print the word, but use the value that the variable has been set to. Radius, in this case, we cannot know what radius is until the user inputs the radius. In other words, when this side of the screen runs the program, it asks the user for a value for the radius. Notice it does not proceed with the program. It waits and waits and waits until the user enters radius. If nothing happens and the user does not enter anything, the program will stay here in suspended animation until some value is entered. So if we put the number 5 for our radius, here is going to store that number 5 into this word radius, and when pi is set to 3.14, the last line will print out that the area of the circle is, which is literally going to be printed out, and after the is and after the colon and this space here, this calculation will be resolved and it will be printed out. We know what radius is now because we will enter 5, and we know what pi is because we set it in the program without any user's help, and it will be 5 times 5 times 3.14. So when I press enter, all that will get resolved and we get the value 78.5. So this is the programming section that's done. We're streaming almost to 20 minutes now. I'll try to hurry and wrap this up. So what I want you guys to do is to go in Word. This will be the part that you paste the program. Now just put your name, put the class, and put the day when you're saving the file. So I'm gonna save this on my desktop. Day 2, your name, and your class, and just save it with this format when it comes to saving. For the actual content in the Word file, if you want to do the flowchart first, you could do that, then paste your code. If you want to paste the code first and then do the flowchart, that's fine. So the next step, what I want you guys to do is to do the flowchart for this program. So remember, each shape specifies a certain action. These circular ovals or shapes here are the terminators. Always use these to start. And we begin by start to insert the first shape. It's a print. All input and outputs are these rhombus shapes here. So all you must do is print and then write the same text. If it doesn't fit, make sure you make it a little bit bigger. You don't have to type out everything here, just put the ... with the end quotation just to save on space. Let's see, Mark Nicholas, is there a, sorry I don't hear name, date, and class as Word document name? Yes, it's up here. The assignment, on which day it was given, the name, and then the class, using dashes to separate the words. So for your assignment, guys, just finish the flowchart for me. Basically, put in your start shape, put in your end shape, and then put in each shape for this. For pi equals 3.14, make sure you're using the flat rectangle, as this is a process. I'm just gonna put it down here just to give you guys an idea of. Alright, so eventually after the first 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, you'll have an arrow pointing to the 5th line here. I just jumped to that because that's the only shape that's gonna be different, but all in all you'll be using only these 3 shapes going forward with this application. Alright, so complete the next 3 lines using the input-output shape. Use the same rectangular shape to show the process of setting pi to 3.14, and then finally print out the last shape, which says the area of the circle is, and then of course always end your flowchart with the corresponding terminator for end. Alright, so finish up this chart and then upload your Word file into the assignment page using the form here. I'm gonna save this. So enter your first name, enter your last name, enter your class once again, add a file. Where is it? Upload this file. Once it's finished uploading, you can submit. Alright, once it says your response has been recorded, don't worry after that. I have received your response. No need to respond again, because I have instances where people have been posting multiple responses. That doesn't do anything different. You'll just end up sending me 3 different assignments. So once you see this, you're good. Alright, We've been streaming for 25 minutes, a little bit longer than I would have wanted to, but going forward, I won't have to explain why we're using certain variables anymore. I won't have to explain the input commands, I won't have to explain the print commands, and I won't have to explain having a formula within a print command and also alongside quoted text. So maybe today's one will be a little bit lengthy, but going forward the other videos should be shorter because I won't have to explain some of these basics once again. Yeah, the flowchart can be any color. This is just the default that Microsoft gives us. Just make sure I can read it as long as it's readable. For those of you who don't have Microsoft Word, can't get it done, simply do this on a typing sheet or on a folder sheet. Try to take a very clear picture, as clear as you can make it, and upload that picture here instead of a Word file, okay? Right? Like I said, I know some of you guys are working off mobile, some of you are working off tablets, so it's kind of difficult when it comes to those devices to do a flowchart when it comes to either drawing the shapes or, I don't know, getting the shapes out through Word on the devices. So try it out. If you get it to work, I mean, great, but if you really can't get it to work, don't stress out about it. Just get the work done. Do it on a folder sheet if you have to, and upload a picture if you have to, and I'll check the picture when it's time to grade. Alright, so I'll end the stream here just so the video doesn't become even more prolonged. I'll still be here in the chats. If you have any questions, if you're gonna work on this right now, ask me any questions and I'll answer back using the live chat. I'll still be here at least until 8:55. Alright, guys, see you guys later. I think our next class is Thursday, right? Alright guys, have a good day. Make sure you submit the assignment. This one will be graded.